What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Really excited about tonight's video. We're going to be going over some Arthur Smith run game concepts. We're going to be going over really his favorite red zone rushing concept, which is the zone read. We're going to be looking at several different variations of the play, and then we're going to talk a little bit about designing a package of plays around Justin Fields. Even if he's not necessarily the starting quarterback in Pittsburgh, how can they design some package plays to get him on the field and utilize his really unique athleticism? And then we're going to take a look at a couple different examples around the league in terms of things that I've been brainstorming, picking up different concepts, stealing plays, if you will, from other offenses around the league that have really talented runners at the quarterback position, and just talk about the benefits of the quarterback run game, why it's so effective, why I think that they should give Justin Fields a handful of plays a game to showcase what he can do as a player. Before we get started, please make sure that you like the video, subscribe to the channel, drop me a comment. All that stuff is greatly appreciated on my end. And without further ado, let's roll. All right, so just over the past 2 years, man, when I was going back and watching a lot of Arthur Smith Falcons tape, one of the things that kept coming up was the zone read game in the red zone and on short yardage. It's definitely one of his most common play calls and something that I definitely saw a tendency for him to go to in these gotta-have-it type of situations. And I just really want to take a quick, non-detailed version look at the zone read run game and what it means. Basically, the offensive line is going to be blocking inside zone. So they're all going to be going one direction, and the quarterback is going to be responsible for reading the conflict defender, which is normally the end man on line of scrimmage. So in this case, the edge, we are leaving him unblocked on the right side of the screen. You see the offensive line all is blocking towards the left. We're in the pistol with now Steelers running back Cordero Patterson in the backfield. He's just going to read this defender. If he crashes down towards the running back, he is going to keep the ball. It's really that simple. All right. So you will see this edge defender. He crashes down. Mariota ends up keeping the ball. We also get this, the fullback, another big part of Arthur Smith's offense I've been talking a lot about recently. He loves to use two backs in the backfield, and that's a simple score. So I think when you look at some of the numbers just from the quarterback run game perspective, when they had Mariota in the backfield 2 years ago, they were top 5 in a lot of statistics in terms of the quarterback run game. First downs generated, EPA generated, all those different things, rushing yards, all those different things. And I think it really sets the table for some of the things that he could potentially look to do with Justin Fields. Mariota is kind of a similar player. A lot of his highlights at the NFL level have come from, what he's been able to do with his legs, a really gifted runner coming out of Oregon. And I think when you look at Justin Fields, he's had a lot of similar success in terms of, you get the ball in his hands and he has a really unique skill set to make some things happen as a runner. Here's a good example of against the Seahawks from 2022 of what will happen if, you get some type of gap exchange or some type of spill. So right here, they're going to be running inside zone after the motion. And you're going to see this, the end-man on line of scrimmage, the C-gap defender is going to crash down up against the tight end. Now, this will give a pull read for the quarterback, right, because he's crashing down. Now, what the Seahawks are going to do is they're going to scrape a linebacker. I believe that's Cody Barton coming over the top. Now, this does put there is a defender responsible for the quarterback, but that's the beauty of this quarterback zone read and the quarterback run game in general. If your quarterback is a better athlete than the responsible defender that the defensive coordinator is tasked with, hey, you have the quarterback, it's a win. All right, it's almost too easy. Make those guys play in space. That's really the benefit of having a guy that's extremely athletic and a different type of playmaker, at the game's most important position. Here's another example right here, one that I really like, not just because we get the play fake that's so good that it fakes out the camera, but I also like how Smith has different variations that he can go to. So here's one right here. You're going to get the motion to the right. We want a lot of motion, a lot of misdirection to really capture these second-level defenders' eyes and, put additional stress on those guys. Now, one thing they're going to do is you will see the C-gap defender from the left side of the screen. He is going to slide down towards the running back. That's going to give the quarterback a pull read. But watch number 18 right here. This is Matt Collins in this kind of wide off position. He's going to be coming around to the left, as in this is just quarterback zone read lead is what I would call it. It just gives you another blocker out there on the edge to take out some additional defenders if you got them out there. But again, the Falcons, 2 years ago, they were average, middle of the pack in the red zone. Last year, they struggled for a myriad of different reasons, but this was one of their more successful ways that they were able to find the end zone with Desmond Ridder, with Taylor Heineke and those guys. And I really think it just does a good job of highlighting, some of the advantages that, they could potentially look at. We're going to look at a lot of Justin Fields clips to show you guys, some of the things he's been able to do near the red zone or on similar concepts, on different concepts, running the football. I think you guys probably have a pretty good feeling of how, talented he is, but I want to reinforce kind of my thoughts on his skill set and the reason why I think he should, generate some playing time, even if he's not necessarily, the starting quarterback in Pittsburgh, with Russell Wilson being in quote unquote pole position. But this is another thing that I'm talking about. This one could really go either way in terms of is this a give or a pull read? This edge defender, he is kind of coming off and executing a little bit of like a surf technique. He gets a little too vertical for me. I think you could argue that Ridder could potentially hand this ball off. But again, this is just a foot race to the sideline. You're going to make the defense, when space gets really condensed, you're going to make them defend, sideline to sideline. And, some of the, a lot of people have been asking me about package plays for Justin Fields. Why is that? What's the benefit to it? And you guys know if you're subscribed to the channel, if y'all have followed me on social media over the years, I'm not one to be, clickbaity or hyperbolic in some of the statements that I make, especially about the teams that I cover. But at the same time, man, I want to just be very blunt when I say this. Justin Fields is one of the most gifted runners that we've ever seen at the position. Full stop, one of the most gifted athletes that we've ever seen play the quarterback position at the NFL level. Through his first 3 years in Chicago, over 2,000 rushing yards, I think 14 touchdowns. He has the ability, like we just saw in that Lions clip on zone read, to break explosive plays. Even outside of the red zone, he can do so much for your offense in terms of generating those big plays and making sure, things happen for your offense, especially when you need a spark. This is a guy that you can put into the offense and he can make something happen on his own. And I think this example against the Packers is a really good example of, there's good athletes and then there's special athletes at the position. So right here, we're going to get some type of read play. He's going to keep the ball because the edge defender, he washes down towards the running back. Now, the way things work out, they do have this nickel defender that's out here in space kind of coming collapsing down. I'm guessing they don't, necessarily feel the need to respect the RPO game to the strong side of the formation. But even though Justin gets right here, this is technically the way you would want it drawn up from a defensive coordinator perspective. You have this guy capped. He's got outside leverage. You've got the rest of your defenders hopefully coming from the middle of the field. Hopefully you can kind of vice him in to a compromised position. Now, the thing about Justin that's really special is his ability to make guys miss, put his foot in the ground, and get vertical. You see the acceleration, the special type of straight line speed. Like I said, there's just very few players that we've ever seen at this level that can do the things that he can do. And I think it's really encouraging. It's an encouraging wrinkle that you can kind of put in. And I wanted to go over some of the really simple concepts just to show you guys some of the examples of, ways to utilize his legs and things that I would like to see Arthur Smith put in the playbook. Now, you guys know, my thoughts on Arthur Smith's run game, he's really zone-oriented. So a lot of these things that I'm going to show you guys are things that I haven't necessarily seen him run a lot of, but I think in his kind of his second act as offensive coordinator, but his redemption tour, if you will, in order for him to be successful, I've talked a lot about he's going to have to evolve his offense. And part of that is, implementing more concepts and more plays so that his offense doesn't feel as stagnant or figured out like it did at certain times in Atlanta. This is just regular old quarterback sweep, man. This is old school, pee-wee type football. But I wanted to go over this for a couple of reasons. One, if you take a look at the tight end right here, number 85, this is Cole Kmet. Really, really nice player, but I think he's a really underrated blocker just in terms of some of the assignments that he was able to carry out in Chicago. And the reason why I bring this up is if you're going to run quarterback sweep, especially from this kind of bunch formation to the short side of the field, you need a player. This is basically just pin and pull, right? You have to have somebody that's going to be able to pin an edge defender. Well, the Steelers have a 6'7", 270-pound tight end that's really good at this sort of thing, right? Using his size, using his length. And then I also think, a good kind of tip that I learned kind of from JT O'Sullivan, quarterback school, a great YouTube channel, is really if you get a post safety in the middle of the field, like part of the benefits of the quarterback run game. If you have a post safety right here up towards the 40-yard marker at the top of the screen, if you have a post safety in the middle of the field, you have a +1 advantage. All right. So what does that mean? Like normally you think about it, if a quarterback hands the ball off to the running back, the quarterback's effectively wasted. You know what I'm saying? Like we're not going to get any value from him. He's not going to turn into a blocker. Now, if you run the quarterback, you can use the running back as a blocker. So that's what we talk about, getting a +1 advantage, and he can also occupy a defender in terms of some of these read plays. Now, some of the ways that Chicago would use Justin's, particularly as they got into the red zone, were kind of cool. So this is honestly one of my favorite rushing concepts that you'll see. Several teams around the league are using this. I think about like Indy. Baltimore's ran this several times, but this is like an old school like gap or power play. Arthur Smith doesn't utilize a ton of pulling linemen, but I think that the Steelers have a lot of really athletic offensive linemen right now that are good pullers and good in space, that you really need to take advantage of this. And so what is this concept? This is basically what I would just refer to as counter bash. And really what that means is we're just getting a counter to the quarterback, and bash just means the back away from the run scheme. So this just means that the pullers you see are working towards the left side of the screen. So you're going to get GT counter, just means we're pulling the guard and the tackle, GT. The back's going to go towards the right, and the defender that Fields is reading here is number 9. That's Matthew Judon on the in-man line of scrimmage. And really, you see that Judon, he's just staying put. Like he's basically taking this player that's on this kind of quick or jet motion. So that just gives Fields a pull read. And you can see the effect that this fake has on the linebackers at the second level. Look at what it does to the linebacker number 8 right here. He takes this false step, and what this does is it allows that offensive lineman to get up on him and get engaged. It just helps the angles. And really with Justin right here, one thing that I really like about Justin, nice job getting down and avoiding taking a big hit. But one thing I really like about Justin is he's a 6'3", 230-pound dude. Like you can run him in between the tackles. This isn't a fragile, rail, skinny type of player. He does have the advantage of, we've went over some stuff on his film on the channel, but he can break through arm tackles. Like he's a really dangerous dude to get on the ground just because he's incredibly strong for his size. And I think that it's pretty rare for the quarterback position. One thing Atlanta really had trouble with last year when I was looking at their film, they really had trouble with running the ball under center near the goal line. And one of the best ways to do that is like if you're a heavy zone team and you want to run zone near the goal line, is having a quarterback that's athletic enough to carry out these quote-unquote play fakes or whatever, and having him athletic enough to get to the edge and beat guys to the pylon. And like this is the type of stuff that's just, this is a walk-in. Nobody's going to be athletic enough to necessarily keep up with him. This is a play that we actually went over we reviewed this whole game, and I'll, put that on the end credits. This game against Atlanta, I thought that this was honestly one of the best games that I saw Fields play in a Chicago uniform. Was his second to last game of last season. This is a really creative run design right here. We're just going to get a fake. We got the bubble to the top of the screen, and really this is just a numbers thing. If Fields likes the numbers that they got at the top, you can throw this bubble, or you can take this off, and this is just quarterback lead draw, right? We're going to get the running back motioning up into the A gap and hopefully get him used as a blocker. Now, this is another thing. Like, if you look at this, right, this is a 6-man box. So we've got the 5 offensive linemen, and then we've got the running back theoretically as a blocker. That's 6-on-6. That means, the defense's whole objective is they want to maintain a +1 advantage across the field. That's what every defensive coordinator wants. We don't have it when the quarterback is a threat to run the ball like this. Now, even right here, you get this kind of quarterback lead draw. Now, the running back does get stopped a little bit, and he isn't even able to really get to the linebacker to really touch him. But again, Fields is just a special athlete, man. Like, you get him in space, and you make these guys try and tackle him. And this was a bad weather game. Like, some of the best games that I felt like Fields had as a rusher, like the New England game that we just looked at, one of those examples was a game where, in bad weather, like, you can kind of turn this over to him, in some of these plays, and use him in creative ways to where, like, you may not want to throw the ball a ton or whatever. You get in some of these, dirty kind of AFC North type games where the weather's bad, it's raining, it's cold. I think that Justin can honestly offer you some value in situations like this. Now, This is the point of the video where I feel like people are going to think that I'm going off the rails. I promise I'm not, okay? Just stick with me here, okay? So a lot of people have been asking me about, like, what does a design playbook or package of plays look like for Justin Fields? Started brainstorming, just looking at different things, reading some books over the offseason. And one of the good examples that I felt like is kind of intriguing to me is what Taysom Hill kind of does for the Saints. And I know people are going to go crazy on me in the comments, but I really do think that there is value in this type of player. And I think that Taysom over the years has become, like, from the fantasy football community or just the online community, he's become a little bit of like a bit, and like people make fun of him, whatever. But I do think there's like actual value in having a player like this. Now, do I think that you pay a guy like this a ton of money? No. But like if you're looking for an auxiliary or complementary piece to your offense, I do think this is pretty valuable. Over the past 3 seasons, Hill's actually accumulated over 30 points of EPA. I mean, that's the equivalent of 4 touchdowns. I mean, that's quite a bit for just being a runner who's averaged, approximately like 75, 80 carries as a design runner. This is another concept that I would like to see them implement. This is just, to me, I would just kind of characterize this as like quarterback power. So, again, the Steelers ran this a good amount last year in terms of, I call it like dart, which is just you get like one back power from the gun. They were really effective about this. Again, I think utilizing the Steelers offensive linemen as pullers is a really good thing and something that I would like to see Smith lean into more. But, again, you see this puller. Awesome block right there on 44, and really good vision, honestly, from Taysom Hill to kind of take this away. But this is just one of those run concepts that I would really like to see, put into place. And then if you guys are looking for really like more, quarterback run game stuff to study, I honestly thought that the Colts had some of the most intriguing stuff for me last year in terms of things that, they were implementing with Anthony Richardson early in the season before he actually got hurt. But this is really just GH counter. But the way that they kind of draw this thing up is they actually get an arrow from the back out of the backfield. You get the shift to kind of the single wing formation, and then you get these kind of 2 routes to the top of the screen. And really all that does is just it gives Richardson the opportunity, if he wants to throw it, I suppose he could probably throw it, but it vacates 2 defenders from the box. It gives the defense more to account for. And right here we get big Quentin Nelson with an excellent kick out block on the end-man on line of scrimmage. Awesome block. And then we're going to use the H-back, number 83. So in the Steelers offense, this is probably going to be like Connor Hayward or somebody like that, or maybe Michael Pruitt, but you get him as kind of the wrapper. And really what the guy who he's looking for is he's looking for the play side linebacker if he shows up, but he shows up late, and Richardson really just walks in. Nice little touchdown silly right there. So, but these are all kind of cool things. I mean, I think the whole thing about the NFL and like football in general is like, things that we talked about in this video, GT counter, quarterback draw, quarterback sweep, even this stuff like, GH counter with the arc to the outside. I think a lot of this stuff, it's not new. This stuff's been around for ages, but I think, the best offensive coordinators, they're always looking at stuff that other play callers are, doing around the league and having success with, and kind of put it into their own playbook. But really, the whole point of this video, I was going to make 2 separate videos about like the zone read stuff. I wanted to make a shorter video, and then I thought the Justin Fields thing would be a good kind of complement to that. So I just wanted to throw it all together at once. Hopefully you guys liked it. My stance on this is, I'm not saying he's going to get 75 carries necessarily, but I think the Steelers would be doing themselves a huge disservice if they don't think that Justin is, good enough to be the QB1 of the team. I think that there's a good chance that Russell Wilson, starts the season and keeps that job for at least a little while. But, I do think that they would be doing themselves a disservice to not get this type of electrifying athlete on the field a couple plays a game, because, it's just one more thing, through the course of the week that a defensive coordinator has to plan for. And I think that, you only have so much time in that like 5-6 day period. You're trying to figure out like, what is this team like on third downs? What is this team like on the red zone? And then when you have to figure out, okay, well, what happens if they bring Fields in? This is a completely different quarterback who has a different skill set. because of his athleticism. It's just one more thing that's going to keep defensive coordinators up at night, and I think a nice little wrinkle to the Steelers playbook. So you guys let me know what you think. Y'all want to see a package of plays for Justin Fields? Let me know what y'all thought of the video over the next 6 weeks or whatever until training camp starts. I'm going to be putting up a lot of this X's and O's type content, as well as some film room on some draft picks I still got to get to as well. But just please make sure on your way out, like the video, subscribe to the channel, drop me a comment. All that stuff is greatly appreciated. Thank you guys so much. Peace and love.